Welcome back to another episode of the Burd Files podcast. Today we are starting the senior segment where I interview some of the seniors in the class of 2020 and talk to them about their high school experiences and what it's brought to them and what they take away from this strange time that has limited some of their, cool things that senior year usually brings. So I just want to start by saying congratulations, man. You're a 4-year senior at Fountain Valley, right? I mean, you endured 4 years of high school. You grinded. You got the Frolicker Award, and congratulations on that as well. You finished your 4 years, and watching that commencement speech. I mean, you've done some amazing things in your high school career, and I just want to start by congratulating you. So I just kind of, my first question is, how does it feel, not being able to have the kind of standard traditional graduation?
Yeah, at least first off, thank you, of course. It's been weird for sure. I think that it was like a lot of it was feeling very anticlimactic. Like things were kind of just petering off. We did get the cumulative like senior seminar or graduation, commencement, right? None of that. But mainly also just like not really getting to say goodbye to people. It's like I've spent 4 years with a lot of these people, and like they've been a big part of my life, and then it's like just over. But also part of it, at least for me, it kind of started shifting where I'm like, well, I mean, it's kind of cool. And Lucy and Gabe during commencement talked about this, but it's like, we're writing history, like we are the class of 2020. We're like in the thick of this. So in that way, it's very unique. And I think that's cool. But I mean, in the end, I felt like baccalaureate and commencement did tie up loose ends for me that like, I felt like was just kind of petering off. I didn't think it would be something kind of big, but I mean, hearing everybody's stories about their favorite memories, like brought back a lot of really incredible moments. And I think it did justice to what usually happens on senior sem. We get to hear these stories. And I think it definitely was not ideal, but in the end, I accepted it for what it was. And it wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been, at least for me. I think for me too, as a day student, a lot of my life didn't change. I was just spending more time at home, but I was already at home. And I know for boarding students, it's definitely different because like you're living with everybody. So at school, so to be totally removed from that is very different. So I'm definitely grateful that I had my home and I was used to being at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's good to hear that you kind of accepted it, because I know, some of the seniors that I know at home here in Texas, they're definitely, sort of still feeling resentment towards just the virus in general, because, especially from the high school that I originally, started at, we're a really big school, like 3,500 kids. And I think all of the seniors were looking forward to busting out a dance move in front of a huge auditorium. But,
totally, man. That's the, grad party, there's no grad party. Very sad. I was looking forward to that. But it's okay. Yeah. At some point. Well, hopefully we'll get back together at some point.
Yeah. So. I mean, you just kind of have to take the good with the bad. I mean, you're done, right? You didn't get the traditional graduation, but at the end of the day, you graduated, and that's what's important, right? So moving into my next question, you've done some pretty big things in your high school career. Just to kind of go down the list, you led the climbing team to back-to-back state championships, varsity state championships in 2018 and 2019. You won the Frolicker Award. You were the president of the community council at school. I mean, you've been a significant figure at Fountain Valley, pretty much, at least I mean, I was only there for 1 year, but in my 1 year, I could tell you were a leader figure and you were somebody that people looked up to. But in your 4 years of high school, what would you say was your biggest takeaway, biggest learning, biggest thing that will stick with you?
I think, I mean, Fountain Valley has taught me a lot of things about life. Some of like the less serious ones, I don't know, like, you can't, well, I mean, okay, so this is kind of the big one. I think Fountain Valley definitely taught me how valuable time is, and that you can't just throw it away. You can't wait, like use it doing things that aren't worth your while. You can't spend your time like, oh, well, I guess I'll do this. Like, I mean, we do have a finite amount of time, and I think that especially at Fountain Valley, where your schedule can be very rigorous, you can get stuck in these loops where it's like, oh, I just gotta like finish this test, or like I just gotta grind, I just gotta like do this one thing, and before you know it, you can lose out on a lot of really memorable moments. And I feel like my freshman and sophomore year, especially, I kind of lost sight of what I enjoyed. Or spending. You got to make time for what you love, right? I love climbing. Friends are important, like hanging out with people. It's all very important stuff. So I think Fountain Valley's taught me that, like, what I value, and also how to balance that. Like balance climbing with the rest of life, and then balance like the social aspect. But I think I got it down by my junior year. I was like, I don't know how I did it. My junior year, I feel like I was in the hardest classes, and I had the craziest schedule, but I was also spending the most time with friends, and I was the happiest I'd ever been at Fountain Valley. And it's hard to find the balance, but I think Fountain Valley teaches you how to do that.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So another question, just kind of like over time, right? But from your freshman year to now, what do you think is the biggest change in you? And it can't be the hair.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm getting back, and it'll grow back over time. Hopefully, we'll see. It's getting kind of long now. Yeah. Biggest change Fountain Valley has done to me. That's a big question. I don't know. I think my perspective on life has grown really big. I don't know. I don't know if that's a big change. It's an internal change for sure. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but like definitely my perspective on everything has kind of grown, because Fountain Valley is such a kind of melting pot, and I mean, I got to go on exchange to Australia my sophomore year. And honestly, like, I felt like Australia wasn't that different in compared to like a lot of places you could travel to, but even still, it was so drastically different than anything I'd experienced, even though it was like barely the same, or I mean, almost the same. And because of that, I think I've grown, and I'm like, it really has inspired me to want to travel and experience the rest of the world, because I just know there's so much out there now, because of Fountain Valley.
So just like perspective on life has just,
yeah, it's just
broadened.
grown. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's like I was like, yes, Colorado, I liked hiking, and like that was like here, and then it's just expanded immensely because of Fountain Valley.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So, I kind of want to move into like, we've been looking back more so.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
you're going to Colorado College, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
after a gap year.
Okay. So, okay, gap year. Okay, interesting. What do you plan on doing in your gap year?
Well, it's currently still, I mean, it's all the plans are made, but which is very tentative, of course, during this time. But the plan is to be working as an au pair, which is basically kind of like a nanny, but designed for someone my age and abroad. So I'm going to be working with a 7 and 9-year-old in Nice, France, until next July, starting in September. And I'm going to be living with them I'll have my own little place, and they're 10 minutes from the beach and an hour and a half from the mountains. And I'm like 3 hours from one of the world's most famous climbing areas, and I'm going to learn French, and it's going to be great. I really lucked out. I mean, I started this process the idea started back in January, and I was like, okay, I'll put my application out, and I just scored. I scored on a family. They're incredible, you know. And so yeah, I'm hoping to come back fluent and had an incredible time in France for a year, and go right straight into college. We'll see how it goes though. So I mean, I'm still working on my visas. That's the main hard thing to get over right now. And during this time, but once I get my visa, I'm planning on flying over with my flight credit from canceled interim.
Well, I think that's just like, you know, I've never heard of like what, au pair.
Yeah, no pair.
So
So
like
yeah.
you say it kind of like came to you in January. Like what, you know, what kind of did just everything kind of fall into place and it just kind of like a light bulb clicked, or was this something that you like had been thinking of you know, previously?
I mean, until December when I found out I got into CC, I had no like I knew I wanted to take a gap year, but I had no idea what I wanted to do with it. I had a general idea like I kind of want to travel, you know, and like I want to make money somehow to like make it, you know, and but then I found out. So the youth symphony, which Mr. Webb talked about in the thing, I am in the youth symphony actually outside of school. I play the oboe, and I have had to not participate in some aspects of youth symphony because of Fountain Valley, but I didn't decline it completely. You got that slightly. It's okay. It's where the thought counts, you know. And we were going to be going on an international tour to perform in Greece and Bulgaria. And so we were going to be performing at like a competition there, and like in ancient Roman amphitheaters. I was really excited. It was kind of going to be my culmination of oboe. I've been playing since 4th grade, and but that got canceled. But before it got canceled, that was the idea, right? I was like, oh, I'm already going to be in Europe. Like, what if I just stayed there, you know? And then I was like, oh, I've got friends in France, and my dad's going to be living in Italy, so I can just live in France, hopefully. And then I was trying to think of a job, and I think my mom brought the idea of an au pair to my attention. And then I researched it and found found this website that was good, and I put my information in, and I wasn't going to do it unless I found a good family, you know, and I found a perfect, great family. So
It just seems like you struck gold, man.
I
mean,
really did. I'm super psyched.
yeah. I mean, I've you know, I have friends who've taken gap years, and their gap year, you know, they planned on doing a bunch of cool, interesting stuff, and they ended up just kind of, you know, like they went to find themselves, right? And then they kind of came back
Right,
just
and then
like,
they end up staying home a lot.
yeah, they were like, oh, you know, I spent a lot of money, ate a lot of food, didn't really, you know, get anything out of it. But what you're describing to me right now seems like that's just like, I mean, you talked about your perspective broadening or widening. I feel like that'll just, you know, even more so
Even more,
give you
yeah.
you know, a wider perspective. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, so Colorado College, right? You applied. Applications
Right.
are due like when is like, you know, you have to apply.
I think it was before. I mean, it's kind of the beginning. No one will tell you this. I mean, maybe Fountain Valley people will, but the beginning of senior year, you think you're done with junior year, right? And then beginning of senior year is by far the hardest and most stressful time of high school ever, because you have to do normal school and keep up all your grades, right? And apply to colleges. And applying to colleges is a big feat. But I think I played it well. I only ended up applying to 3 because I'm pretty picky. I mean, I wanted climbing, I wanted a good environment, I wanted a dry climate, small school, semi-prestigious, you know, something like that. And it really limited me. And so but I knew I didn't think I was going to apply to CC, and then I did in the end because it was exactly what I wanted. And I plan on taking advantage of their broad programs, so I won't actually be in my hometown as much, you know. But I applied early decision, and then back before fall break, I think. That might be wrong. But yeah, I got it in early decision. And that application I worked on really hard, and then I found out in December.
What's your immediate reaction? Were you like, jumping up and down, throwing a party, or was it just like, super nervous, sweaty hands opening it, and then just the sigh of relief?
It was totally like, I was, I had my hopes up because I knew I felt like I had the boxes checked. I opened the letter and it was like a floodgate for just potential, I mean, I felt like even during the beginning of my senior year, there's an extra level of stress because I had no idea what the next 4 or 5 years of my life were going to look like. It's like totally up in the air, like mist. It's like it's all misty and foggy and you can't really see. And when I opened the letter, it all settled, right? I could see like, oh, sweet. Okay, I'm going to plan my gap year out. I'm going to go to CC for 4 years. Like that's 5 years of my life planned. So I was just super excited to like kind of have a structure, but not so much where I still have a lot of freedom to plan, like there's a lot of potential. And I think, I mean, right after you graduate, you'll find that like you just realize, wow, I'm completely free. I have literally no responsibilities besides my own, and like taking care of myself. And like you have the potential to do whatever you want. And it's quite an exciting time because then you can kind of just decide, it's like, oh, sweet. Okay, I guess I'll go to France for a year and then go to CC. So,
Yeah. So do you think, going to France, like how have you, what kind of experience have you had just being away from home, just kind of, in a place by yourself with really no, I mean, avenue except a phone call home? I mean, what kind of experience do you have and how do you think that'll, affect you, just in your everyday life?
yeah, I think so I've spent 7 years at a summer camp called Colvig Silver Camps. Um, I think my last year was after my sophomore year of high school, and I credit that camp to like the person I am. I mean, it taught me so much. But it's a month long every summer, and you spend it away from parents. Like you have letters, but you can't even call them. It's all letters. But you just spend it backpacking, and you get to know really close friends. And so I think that'll definitely help. And and also the longest though I think I've spent away is my exchange in Australia, which was 6 weeks completely in a new country. But I mean, I was still very much taken care of because
Mhm.
I was like the responsibility of like my and same at camp, like I was being taken care of, and now I'm going to be in a completely new environment, taking care of kids. Like I'm going to be the taking care. So it's definitely going to be um, a big shift, and but I'm kind of ready for that. I feel like at the end of my senior year, I'm like definitely sentimental and reminiscent of the good days, but I mean, I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready to do something that'll kind of push me more out of my comfort zone, and this definitely will be that. Like I'm going to be having to cook for kids, and that they barely speak English; they speak French. So it'll definitely be a challenge, especially for the first 2 months. Um, but I think, I mean, that's what I want. I want that uncomfortable, like that sense of being really uncomfortable, because I think that's how you grow the best. And I haven't felt that feeling in a good while now. I think I did at the beginning of Fountain Valley, but I found my groove. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So you're getting pushed out of your comfort zone. You're growing as a person, right? And then at the end of this gap year, you're gonna go to, you're gonna, be a freshman at Colorado College. What are you looking to go into? What are you looking to study? What is your, I mean, you probably don't have a career that you're completely set on. I'm sure there's something that you'd like to do, but what are you looking to go into?
Funny enough, I mean, as of now, I kind of decided near the end of my junior year. This is like what I'm most excited about now. We'll see what happens after. I mean, 5 years down the line, it might be very different.
Mhm.
Most of the time it is, but right now I'm really excited. I mean, I think I'd love to go back to secondary level school, high school, and teach. I think I don't know. I like schools, and especially I really enjoy good teachers, and I would really love to be a good teacher. I don't know. I mean, I don't. I could see myself teaching a lot of things, but I think I would enjoy like math. I would think I would love teaching, especially the kids that don't really like math.
Mhm.
People don't like math because they have horrible math teachers, and I really feel like there's a lot of mathematicians out there, right? And then there's a lot of good teachers, and rarely do good mathematicians and good teachers cross paths. You know, like they aren't the same person ever, because you can be good at math but horrible at teaching, as
Yeah.
most mathematicians are. I feel, and so I'd love to be that teacher that. I mean, I'm not like a math genius, but I feel
Mhm.
like because of that, I would be good at teaching math. But I mean, I could see honestly myself teaching at a place like Fountain Valley, like coaching climbing or doing the outdoor ed program, or while like on the side. But then, I mean, the great thing about a job teaching is you've got these long stints off, you know.
Mhm.
Um, so I know after college, I'd love to spend like probably, I don't know, 5, 6 years traveling and then settle down into a job. But of course, with that job, you still have those paid breaks. Summer's quite a long time. That's like 3 months
Yeah.
to go on some big adventure. So I think it'd be a good deal. But who knows? We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. So now the au pair is kind of making a lot more sense to me, because like you're going there and essentially, you're gonna be like, you're taking care of these, 7 to 9 year old kids, and you're gonna be definitely a role model for them. And I'm sure that there's gonna be things that you teach them that they had no idea, and they're gonna teach you things as well. And I think that happens to teachers as well. Teachers are teaching, but they also learn things from their students, and I think that
Oh,
it
for
all
sure.
kind of like comes together now that I hear that you're interested in teaching. So so now I kind of want to go into climbing, right? I mean, that's at least from my perspective, a huge part of your identity, right? So where did you start? Where did it come to you that when did it come to you, sorry, that
Yeah.
that climbing was like what I want to do? Like I want to be a climber. I want to climb.
Yeah, totally. I think I mean, it's all started with my family. I have two uncles that rock climb, and they would take me out. Specifically, one, his name's Eric, and he would take me on some intense adventures. I mean, he used to live in El Dorado Canyon up near Boulder, which has some of the world's most famous climbing. And he would take me up. I mean, I remember specifically, like when I was, I think, 9 or 10, we did this 600-foot long cliff, just like, I mean, out. And I mean, weird climbing legal, but it's 6 pitches, 5, 8. I mean, so it's not too hard to climb, but it's super exposed. You feel like you're just out in the air. And I remember getting stuck, and that, like, I just freaked out and I totally cried for like, I don't know, 15 minutes. He was out of earshot. All I had was me and the rope and the rock. And um, so, I mean, I think that definitely inspired me as far as outside goes. But then my mom got me on a club when I was young at City Rock downtown when it first opened. I actually climbed at The Rock, which was the gym before City Rock. It was up farther north. But I think it's just been in my family. But it was never something that like I really loved. I mean, I liked to climb, but it wasn't like, oh, I want to be a rock climber when I grow up. You know, it's
Yeah.
just kind of always been something that I've done on and off though. I mean, I would take a year or two off sometimes where it's like I just kind of would lose interest and want to go try other things. I mean, I dabbled in soccer, I dabbled in basketball, did parkour for a little bit. I don't know, like a bunch of different things. But that was definitely one of the things that drew me to Fountain Valley was the fact that they had a climbing team. And honestly, every year at Fountain Valley, I've just become more and more psyched on climbing. I feel like it's a constant ball that's like it's a snowball. It's just rolling down the hill and it's just building in size. Like that's my stoke for climbing. And I think, especially right now, I mean, right now I'm actually down in Arizona developing a rock climbing area with Preston Nash, who was a graduate from a few years ago. So like we're down here climbing every day. That's why I'm tired. I stayed out night climbing really late last night. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it keeps building. Because I feel like it's the type of sport where it's like, you can keep growing out off of it. And there's so many there's so many different aspects of it. Like you have outdoor climbing, you have competition climbing. And I mean, there's a lot of different, you have bouldering, which is without ropes, and you've got rope climbing, and then you've got climbing where there's already bolts, and climbing where you have to place your own gear. And there's so many different types. I think if you ever get bored or burnt out of one type, there you can always try something else. So I think that's why I love it so much. I don't know. I love it so much because of the movement and the way, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of weird when you think about it. All I'm doing is climbing up some rocks. Kind of stupid, but you know, I like it. So
I mean, to be completely honest, before I met you on the Western Immersion program, like I actually met you, I knew you as Savian the climber. Like that's what you know.
totally.
That's what my what I had been told. And you know, they. I mean, what do you think that you are good enough to potentially you know, train for the Olympics or make the Olympic team? And is that something that you would want to pursue?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if I like really pushed on the pedal 2 years ago, right? I think, I mean, I could even, I don't know if Olympics would be possible at this point, but I mean, if I really was serious about it, that in that way, I could train to that level. I mean, I'm kind of right at this point where it's like I could push it, you know, and get to that level. There's kind of like one or two more steps to get to that level for me. Even though, I mean, I've gotten fourth and third and sixth twice at states the past 4 years. There's definitely people still above me as far as strength goes in Colorado, especially just because Colorado is such a hot spot for climbing. But even if so, like, I mean, I think if I really set my mind to it, I don't know, might miss the like it would be tricky. Like, I think if I really put my heart and soul into it for 8 years, right, like whatever, 2 Olympics down the road, I could potentially be strong enough. But there's already so many other people that are at that level. I've kind of already set in stone, like, I don't think that's the path for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because I love competition climbing and I think it's really fun. But where I really love climbing is outdoors, right? The adventure aspect, pushing your limits, developing, you know, there's a different aspect to outdoor climbing on real rock. It's more social, I think. You get to go on these really cool adventures with really close friends. And that's a big part of climbing, is like the community. And I think, I mean, I'm not hating on competition climbing, but I definitely think where it's at is outdoor climbing. So indoor climbing for me and competitions are really just training. And I think that really helped me in competitions because the pressure was never really on, so I could just climb. A lot of people get in their head, but I would just tell myself, this is just kind of a joke, you know, I'm just climbing, you know, it's just fun. It's just for fun. It's just training for outside. So that's definitely where I'm interested.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's really cool that you have something that you're so passionate about, but you're able to take it lightly. Like you love climbing, right? But it's not the end all be all for you. And I think that's really important, you know, for me with hockey, it's like, it's not the end all be all either, but I definitely want to like go like higher. But I think I respect it, and I kind of envy you for just like being content with where you're at in climbing. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, I'm definitely sorry. I'm definitely content, but content in the aspect that I'm fine with not competition climbing, but like, of course, I'm so stoked on training and stuff to push myself on the outdoor aspect, because I am like nowhere near the cap of like the most difficult climbs outside. So to push myself in that way, more of an individual, you know, personal push, is definitely where I'm most stoked.
That's really cool, man. So, along with climbing, you know, you were recognized for your oboe, and you know, they talked about your photography project. I think it was Bubble Society.
Yeah.
So I'm also in the digital photography, like just like the first basic course at school, and one of the first things that we were shown was your project. Just to, you know, kind of give us a basis of, you know, what we're going to be doing. So I think I want to kind of dive into photography first, because I'm definitely, you know, I love taking pictures, and I think it's such a cool art, and I think your stuff is amazing. I just kind of, you know, what's the motivation behind taking pictures? Why? And you know, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, totally. I think especially this year, I mean, I only took photography my sophomore year. And I didn't do it junior year because I didn't have the time, but I wanted this year to push myself, and kind of branch out. Photography's always kind of been something for me where I just do it because I love showing and sharing like where I am. So a large basis up until this year of my photography was all landscape based, right? Like exploring, and photographing the sites I was seeing, and maybe even creating them, like being a little creative with them, and like doing light photography and star photography. I really love those aspects of landscape photography. But this year I really wanted to push myself into kind of the portraiture lens and kind of branch out, and experience the types of photography that go beyond just sharing an experience and more tell a story or like have an agenda, right? Like there's a reason I created this project, and the projects afterwards. And I think it's super interesting to communicate ideas through photography. But this year is definitely, the inspiration has originated in just me wanting to share like the life that I love living, backpacking and climbing. But since then it's kind of branched out into more just like using photography as a tool to kind of work through ideas that I have in my own head. Like, it's not like I just had that idea about bubble societies and like these different cultures that live so close together. I went into it not really knowing what I wanted to talk about. I knew the idea like, oh yeah, there's like the City Rock and the Broadmoor and the homeless community, and they're all these different communities that don't really interact with each other. But I didn't really know what I wanted to say about that. And I think photography definitely focuses your thoughts, and makes it easier to portray a certain story that you want to tell.
Yeah, I understand that for sure, because a lot of times it's difficult to put stuff on paper, but actually having like a physical thing to look at, like something you can observe rather than, I guess, would observe and comprehend. I think when reading, you comprehend reading, but when you look at art, you're observing.
Observe, yeah.
I think sometimes having something to observe can speak far more words than reading something. And I think, yeah, your photography work is spectacular. I just have to say that, because when we saw it, I was like, okay, which professional photographer took these, right? And then he let us know it was you. And you're doing some great stuff just there in that aspect. So just kind of finally, I know this is not like the only three things that you're doing, but something that's also that was addressed. You're an oboe player, and you talked about U Symphony, and is that the one associated with Colorado College, or is that the one that is the?
That's the independent one. So it's a youth symphony organization. It's just called the Colorado Springs Youth Symphony. So it's a place that kids funnel into that are really stoked on music, and they perform. And there's different levels. So the Youth Symphony is the highest one, and that's the one that travels internationally every other year.
Yeah. So you're part of U Symphony, like you said, and then you said that they Mr. Webb also said that Colorado College, their symphony, let me see what it said. The musical director expressed interest in you playing with their program, and he said that you turned that down to play with the Fountain Valley Orchestra. Is there some, is there a little fib in that, or is that just
there's a tiny bit of discrepancy, but you got the gist. I'm glad he portrayed it in the way that, like, I do really love Fountain Valley, and I get the idea that he was like getting across the idea that like I value my experience at Fountain Valley and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I did get that offer, but it actually conflicted with Youth Symphony. And so I knew what I wanted to put my time into, and so I actually stayed in Youth Symphony, even though Colorado College, because I would have done it, but rehearsal was on the same night as Youth Symphony. and I just loved youth symphony, so I just wanted to stay in that and not not go to Colorado College. Even though I mean I knew I was maybe going there in a few years anyways. But yeah, little discrepancy, but yeah, same idea.
So like musical instruments for me, when I was like 6 years old, my mom, we've always had a piano, and my mom was like, all right, we're doing piano lessons now. And I mean, I now looking back, I would love to still be taking lessons and just have mastered the piano craft. But I ended up stopping when I was like 12.
Yeah, it's hard to
And it,
stick with it.
yeah, I definitely want to get back into it. But seeing you playing, the oboe just kind of like from fourth grade all the way up, what pushed you to keep going with it? Because I know a lot of times it's really easy to just kind of say, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to pick up something else. So what was the inspiration to continue playing throughout all these years?
Yeah. Well, I think I mean, it's kind of funny. I started in fourth grade just being like, I think that instrument's cool. It's kind of unique. And then I just kind of stuck with it, not knowing. But I definitely, I mean, I have to credit my family for that. They helped me through some, like, definitely some low points. I mean, fourth through sixth grade, I loved it. In seventh grade, I was having a good time. But eighth grade, I was actually thinking about dropping it completely. Because I wanted to learn the sax, and I still do want to learn the sax, of course, because the switching from oboe to sax is actually pretty easy because the fingerings are pretty similar. And I'd love to explore jazz through saxophone, but that's somewhere down the line. But I think just my parents told me, like, you'll be grateful that you stuck with it. Trust me. And I mean, I have a good relationship with my mom. And when she told me that, I did trust her. I was like, okay, I mean, I don't really, not feeling super stoked on it. And I think oboe definitely taught me the aspect of, like, sticking with something even in the low points, because it was a lot. I mean, I practiced more and more over the course of the years, but every 5 days a week, like, since fourth grade, besides like a few months in the summer maybe. But I mean, I think I stuck with it because at a certain point, like, it started out with, like, me just being excited to learn an instrument. And then through middle school, I was kind of feeling burnt out. And then at the end of eighth grade, I mean, I was practicing because, like, I always had, and it felt silly and stupid to end there, like, when I knew I was so close to, like, getting to that next level. And I mean, I can always push myself further. But I mean, I definitely feel like I am a little burnt out at this point, honestly, of oboe. I've been doing it for a long time, so I'm taking a break now, at least in the next year. We'll see. I might bring it out, but I think, I mean, it's been a great thing to teach me how, and of course, I do love music and I love playing it. But at this point, I mean, I look back at it as a great experience and, like, sticking with something, because then something out, like, can come out of it that's beautiful, even if there's low points. But yeah, I mean, it also just taught me consistency, like, sticking with it and doing it every day. It kind of just became a part of my schedule for sure. But also, I think, I mean, it's a part of my life that not a lot of people look at, because it's very personal, I mean, it's, like, personal in the way that most of the time I spend doing it, I'm alone practicing. There's no social aspect to it besides when you're with the orchestra. So I think I kind of love that aspect, but also it doesn't show very much, because I mean, in the past 2 years, especially my junior and sophomore year, I was practicing like an hour after school every day. But, like, people you don't really notice that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been a good time, and it's weird because I mean, right before school ended, I had my last oboe obligation until I want to pick back up oboe, and it's just it's weird. It's weird for it to be over in a way since fourth grade, but now it is, and I'm just gonna hopefully get back at it when I'm feeling stoked. But it's been good.
Yeah. I mean, that's a skill that'll kind of always stay with you, right? Like, I mean, you practice for, what is that, 8, 10, 9 years. I mean, you play the oboe for that long. I mean, when you're 40, when you're 35, I mean, if you see an oboe, you're going to be able to pick it up and play it and just kind of think back.
It'll be like riding a bike for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping. I don't think I'll lose it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the 6 years I spent, practicing piano. I mean, I learned some pretty complicated songs, and now I look at a piano and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I can
Yeah,
barely play. I can barely play Mary Had a Little Lamb. But
yeah.
you know, I think that pretty much covers everything that I had prepared. I mean, is there anything else that that you've got going on? I mean, you talked about the Arizona. You're in Arizona right now, building a
Yeah.
rock
I'm
climbing.
just bolting. So basically, you just put in bolts. But it's cool because you have to find the line. It's another art part of the. I mean, I think a lot of aspects of climbing are more art-like than a sport. I mean, right now it's like you just have to you look at the rock and you try to find the lines that would like inherit the most beautiful movement or like the most aesthetic looking piece of the rock, and you got to figure out where the bolts go and everything. But it's been a cool learning experience. I've never bolted before, so it's been fun.
Yeah. All right, man. I mean, that's all I've got for you. I've really, enjoyed talking to you. I think this was, really just interesting to kind of just dive in more into you. You've had these, in my eyes, you've had this like climbing musician, president, labels, but now I feel like I've really filled those out, and I know, kind of who you are more. And I've really enjoyed this conversation. Just congratulations again. You've graduated. The Frolicker Award, I think that's probably the highest, award that you can get at Fountain Valley, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, just congratulations, man.
Thanks so much, man. This has been great. This is good talk. I am stoked for your podcast. It's been cool. I'm excited to see where it goes for sure.
All right. Thank you, man. Have a good one, and good luck with what you're doing down there in Arizona.
Thanks, man. You as well.
See ya.